Okay, so hear me out. The WRX and the STI are the most impractical, practical sports cars that you can buy in the market today. Yes, I said it. This is considered the most practical sports car platform that you can own, and I'm about to tell you why it's actually one of the most impractical, practical sports car platforms that you can own, and you might not actually want to buy this platform if you're looking for a practical car. But hear me out, I'll tell you why. Let me show you on my car exactly why. You might be asking yourself, what in the heck am I talking about? What is this guy trying to say? Why is he saying this four-door, all-wheel drive sports car, this is a WRX or an STI, is an impractical, practical sports car? Well, I'm not gonna beat around the bush. Yes, it has four doors. Yes, it has all-wheel drive, but that's basically it when you're thinking about practicality with this ride, unless you're gonna keep it stock. But for the majority of us, we're not keeping it stock, and we might tell ourselves we're gonna keep it stock, but after a year of ownership, we can't help do things like I've done to this car and like a lot of our owners do. And I'll show you exactly what those things are, why it actually makes this car really hard to drive on a daily basis and almost impossible to be practical for a car that we put in our driveway. So if you're justifying this as a practical car, which I did before I got into this community, and a lot of people in this community do, just know you're lying to yourself. And guys, I'm gonna prove it because I already know you guys are gonna be in the comment section below, absolutely throwing fire to me, burning me alive, but let me prove it to you guys. If you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up button, and if you wanna see more WRX content and you wanna see me modify this thing like crazy and it's so windy, please consider subscribing to the channel. And let me show you why this thing isn't practical at all. If you want a WRX or an STI and you wanna own one, but really, if you own one already or you want to own one or you're an enthusiast, we all like to do fun things to our car. We like to put things on like vortex generators. This is just a windshield one. Or we like to do duckbill spoilers. This is a carbon fiber OLM duckbill spoiler. We like to modify these cars. That can be anything from exhausts, intakes, performance modifications, anywhere down to extreme stance, camber, and all those things. But I guess what I wanted to tell you guys is that line is super blurry and you don't really know what path you want to go until you do it. And there's kind of three paths. People either like to go performance, they can do a combo of these, but if you're going to be one of the three, people either like to go performance, exterior that doesn't have anything to do with stance, and then stance. And by stance, I mean just general suspension, maybe some camber, maybe no camber at all. Maybe you just want to lower your car. But generally, all of us fall into one of those three, at least one of those three. It's rare that you don't modify the car at all. I mean, sometimes you don't modify the car, but most people modify these cars. And that's truly the downfall, actually. So let's say you're number one and you want to do performance modification. How does that make your car not practical? Now, everybody's gonna tell you guys you can modify these cars and not have any issues, and they run like amazing beasts, and there's never problems. You drive them into the ground and there's no problems. I'm not here to disagree with you. I consider myself partially number one. I'm not doing anything crazy to the car. It's stage 2, it's pro-tuned. I've got an intake, J-pipe, you know, nothing crazy here. I'm making incredible power. So these things really make incredible power with very little bit of money. And right now, from my number one perspective, my car is pretty okay. But I want to tell you guys, if you plan on running flex fuel, or even if you get tuned around a specific fuel, kind of like I am, I really only run V-Power. Actually, since my tune 2.5 years ago, I've only put Shell 93 V-Power in this car because that's what I was tuned around, and that's going to give me the optimal performance and lower my risk of something happening with the engine. So I've already reduced the practicality of this oh-so-I-can-go-anywhere sports car. But look, the point that I'm making here is if you do anything more than I've done, which is a big chunk of our community, I'm not talking 4 out of 5 cars are going to have massive performance, but I think it's pretty reasonable to say 1 out of 5 WRX or STI owners takes their performance further than what I've done here. They're either running a new turbo, flex fuel, or 400 plus wheel horsepower, and you guys would be shocked how many people do it because it's so easy to do. But the point that I'm making is, wow, Is it really a practical sports car when you can only get gas from a gas station that has E85 or a different ethanol fuel? And is it really a sports car when you need to do an oil change every 2,000 to 3,000 miles because you're pushing way more power and you've got to keep that stuff healthy and happy? I feel like a car should be able to drive across the country at any point if you're saying you have a practical car. I don't know if that can necessarily happen without a ton of planning if you're running a ton of power. Let's make the assumption for a second you're a little bit like me and you're running reasonable power because you do plan on daily driving this car and you don't really want there to be any issues. And I've been pretty lucky in my ownership of this car. I just recently had a problem, and it was because I did do a performance upgrade, but we're back to running healthy and overall I'm pretty happy about the car. But let's say that you're like me and you want the exterior of this car to look pretty cool. Now I haven't done crazy stuff. I'm not going out there and I'm wide bodying and I'm not doing all this crazy cutting of my body, but I am running something like a front lip, which I highly recommend everybody that buys these cars run because they do wonders to how aggressive these cars look. I mean, do you disagree with me? But guess what? Because I'm running this front lip and I've got a normal clearance of like 4.5 inches, I can't remember what it is, it's like 4.5 inch clearance. Well, because I'm running this front lip, which is a pretty normal front lip, I've just about cut down on 2.2 inches. I think that's what the measurement is. Once you get it actually screwed into your car, it brings your front bumper clearance down just over 2 inches. Now, if you really think about that, well, yes, it's higher than the lowest point of clearance for the car. So theoretically, I still have 5-ish inches there for clearance on my front bumper, but I can tell you now from experience, I can't pull into a single gas station that has a hill. If you've got a street that's too far uphill, I've got to find a different way around it, or I will literally rip the lip off, or something crazy will happen and I'll further damage it. It's completely scraped at this point because even if I go through a wide speed bump, the little speed bumps I'm okay, but if it's a wide speed bump with a higher hump, which you sometimes see depending on where you live, I've got to hit it basically at a 45-degree angle to get over. And that's if I'm lucky. I'm probably still gonna scrape. So I've got to say, there's definitely situations where I want to go to a store, a gas station, that kind of thing, and I've got to find somewhere far, far away to park, like on the street, because my car physically can't get in there. And guess what, guys? I am not lowered yet. So let's take that a step further. You want to run wheels because that's the second thing that I recommend most when you're changing the exterior of these WRXs. Unless you're running STI wheels or you have limited wheels, these things desperately need a wheel upgrade. And even if you're running the Subaru wheels that look awesome, you need to do stuff to make them wider because wide stance wheels look so much better. I'm not even running spacers. It's just an 18 by 9.5 plus 38 millimeter offset. And these things look absolutely incredible. Now, here's the problem. I'm not lowered yet. And if you're looking at my wheel and you know anything about stance and aftermarket wheels and ride height, or anything about this platform or cars in general, the first thing that's gonna come to your mind and you're gonna see is this atrocious wheel gap that I can literally put my hand almost in here. And we all know if I were to bring this car down an inch, maybe an inch and a half, that wheel gap's gonna go away and my car is gonna look 10,000 times better. But the problem is with my front lip and everything else, I live in Boston. If I hit a pothole and I'm an inch and a half lower, I'm done for. So I can't do this until this car is officially just a weekend driver and I don't have to take it anywhere, which is my intention, but I'm saving for an STI so I can have a WRX and an STI. But I've just named two of the most common modifications to the exterior of our cars that make this car almost impossible to drive if you live in a city or if you live in a place that has any kind of hills or speed bumps. Humor me for a second. Let's say I'm option 3. I'm basically not even gonna talk about it. If I do any kind of stance, camber, or aggressive fitment with my wheels, lower my car, make it look good, guess what? I'm not driving in Boston, which is where I live anymore. So that one I'm not even gonna address because you already know that we're gonna walk right out of practicality there. But don't be shocked when I say tons of people do it because it's really easy to do it on these cars and these cars look absolutely amazing when you do it. So forget practicality if you want any kind of camber or lowered car, which I think is a lot of us. So let's cycle back. I've just given you 3 reasons that identifies a lot of the people in this community and what they do with these cars. Okay, so cool, you're not gonna modify your car. Yes, that's a small portion of you and I totally respect that. Keep your warranty intact. You don't like modified cars. This is just a fast, fun, daily driver. Sure, that's awesome. What I do encourage is you think about modifying it because it makes these cars super unique and look absolutely amazing. But hopefully, guys, I made the point clear, I guess, that these are one of the most impractical practical sports cars. And I think still, myself included, every time we think about buying a WRX and an STI, first and foremost, practicality is one of the reasons we purchased this car. I've got to say, like, people say this is the dad sports car, and I couldn't agree more. It's a four-door, super safe, all-wheel drive, can get you through anything, unless you do tons of stuff to it, but that's irregardless of the point. I guess the thing that I wanted to clarify in this video is something that gets asked all the time, and it's why do you want to buy the WRX or the STI? And I want to say it's a practical sports car, but I've felt bad for years telling you guys it's a practical sports car because everyone that I've ever suggested to buy one of these cars who's bought it does exactly what I do, if not more, and then it becomes one of the most impractical cars, and then they end up owning two cars. So, and I think this was a fun video to make because I'm so sick of the raging battles of comment wars on some of my videos about whether the WRX or STI is practical. So there, I addressed it. It's not practical, but it's more practical than anything else. So I don't want to take away from this video because a lot of you guys watch these videos where I'm negative about something and you're like, wow, you're a hater, wow, you only talk about the bad things. Well, these aren't bad things. I'm just making the point that there is a truth to the other side. But I'm not saying, but nobody that goes out and buys a rear-wheel drive coupe keeps it stock anyways. So it's kind of a moot point, but I just wanted to make the point and hopefully answer some of your guys' questions and hopefully give you my opinion on the wars, the absolute wars that happen in the comment sections of some of these videos and some of the videos that other creators that make content around Subarus put out, because I choose not to participate in those comment wars, but I definitely read them and I read all your guys' comments. So if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you've got an opinion and you want to tell me more about what you think about whether it's practical or not, drop it in the comment section below. If you're feeling advantageous, drop in the comment section below what you drive, what modifications you have done, and tell us whether or not you think it's practical or whether you think it's truly impractical, and whether or not that affected why you bought the car and whether you've kind of renounced that idea of, oh wow, I bought a sports car for a practical reason. So let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear it. I think everyone else would love to hear it. So if you aren't going to leave a comment, go look in the comment section because there might be something interesting like on a lot of the videos that I make.